was 3 people in 4 years in our family. And as much as you're trying to deal with one grief, then another one, and another one, it's very compounded.
Caroline McElroy is a former TV presenter, radio personality and content creator who suffered the loss of both her parents and brother Leo in a short period of time, and the grief had a major impact on her life. But she is now here to tell her story and talk about the importance of mental health and her joy of travelling and working with Aer Lingus. Caroline McElroy, welcome to Garry Talks.
It's daunting, and it's tough, and it's a grief, and it's a transition. And you need to be kind to yourself, and you need to find your supports. And it doesn't matter what age you are. You have only one mother and one father. Mm-hmm. And to lose them quickly after one another was tough. I remember being in so much pain, and I remember the physical pain, and I remember the heartache. And I remember thinking to myself, how long is this going to last? Is it going to be months? Is it going to be weeks?
How did you deal with all the grief?
That's a tough one.
This is a GK Media podcast.
This podcast is part of the GK Media Studios Creators Network, helping people tell their stories. Become a storyteller today and learn about our podcaster network at gkmediastudios.com. I'm
delighted that we're doing our interview, our chat now, today, after you really coming full circle on the journey that you've had. But it's not an easy journey.
No.
So, and you know, there's key areas that I think it'd be really important to highlight as well for people, and to know that there is support out there for people, and to avail of that support. And, you know, you can have dark days as well, and that's okay. Yeah. You've had such a colourful career. You've been a flight attendant over in the UK, done nursing, you're back working with Aer Lingus, TV presenting,
talk about indecisive. Like, really? Pick one.
Well, why do we need like the one job either?
True, exactly. And that's sometimes where, you know, let's say when you're in school, you have your favourite subjects. What are you going to do with your career? And, you know, and especially in the system that we have in the south of Ireland, if you don't get the points for what you're wanting, it can be difficult to work a way around.
Yeah.
And nursing was my second choice.
So what was your first?
Journalism.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I didn't get that.
Okay.
And
what kind of spurred you on to be a journalist?
I loved the English language. I just loved writing. I devoured books and just the creative writing itself. And even the boring ones like the poems and the Shakespeare and all of that, I still devoured them. I loved them.
Yeah. And
there was a flair there. But at the time, journalism was quite high in points, and I repeated my Leaving Cert and still didn't get it.
Okay.
But I nearly got it. It was nearly there.
Yeah.
But the next was then nursing. So that's where that came in.
But before you went nursing, you became a flight attendant.
No, it was after the nursing.
Okay.
Yeah, after I qualified, I thought...
So you're a qualified nurse?
Yes.
And then you go and become a flight attendant?
Yes.
Okay.
And then, and that kind of lends into it, because they nearly, on board, they nearly like to have somebody medical.
Yeah, true.
Do you know, and it really kind of gave me that step up into joining Virgin Atlantic. And then the bug hit.
The travel bug.
Oh my God. And just been cabin crew, and anybody who is cabin crew, they will completely relate to this. They've gone into it for a couple of years, and 30 years later they're there.
Yeah.
You know, it's one of those jobs.
So you're just back from LA now.
So I'm just back.
And you were in New York there, was it the week before?
Yeah, the previous week.
Class.
So
I'm envious, but I know it's tough slog.
It is tough. And of course, with the guidance of Lily and Ruby, they were saying to me, my daughters, Mommy, you have to be doing these travel videos. Everybody's doing these travel videos. Yeah,
I loved them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started taking a couple of clips and put them all together, cleared them with Lily and Ruby to see are they good and all of that kind of stuff. And I've only put up a Boston and a New York, and the New York has nearly gone viral.
Yeah.
So it's amazing, really. But that is the good parts of the job. People don't see the rest of it, the in-between. It is hard on your body. It is hard on your mind. You need the patience of a sound. And but yet you do. Oh my God. Let's not go into those stories. But cabin crew are kind of all very similar people. And so for me, it's a lifesaver as well. Lily and Ruby have flown the nest. And for me now, it is quite literally a lifesaver.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. I'm getting away. I'm with like-minded people. And we're doing this job together. And then we're seeing different places. Now, there's times when I don't want to do anything and I just want to lie in the bed and I want to rest or read my books or whatever else. But on the times that I do, I'm now recording them in the bits and pieces.
Yeah, no, they're great videos.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I flew transatlantic last December, and I remember after the flight from Vegas back to Dublin, I was absolutely exhausted. Took me about 2 or 3 days to settle in, and I slept most of the flight. And then you would put up a video there recently, a story, and you're saying, you slept 14 hours solid after you came home because you have to work through the flight.
Yeah, we're doing the red eye back. Yeah.
So that really must play on the body.
It does.
Because when I'm fast asleep, with respect, I'm not thinking of the actual cabin crew still having to work.
I know, but sure, this is the thing, and we only think of ourselves.
Yeah.
Let's call it. But yeah, so we work through the night. Now, we will get some rest as well. We do get 3 hours rest, and there is bunks on the plane for the West Coast. But when let's say, for example, on the LA, you're landing in at 3:00 in the day.
Yeah.
By the time I get home, which is a commute, I get home, it's about 4:30. And so you have to stay awake until bedtime.
Yeah.
Please don't ask me anything in those 4 hours because you're not going to get a decent response. But that's where the 14 hours, I was like out cold. I shocked myself that I slept that much.
I'm going away again.
You are?
Yeah. If I board the plane with a box of chocolates...
It would want to be more than that.
Can I get an upgrade to business class?
Can I? Give it a go. See?
Yeah.
Depends on the chocolates.
I'll end up in the toilets for the flight or something.
You're like, this cheeky fecker.
Yeah, I suppose the Irish charm doesn't work on Irish people.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't work that way. The last nearly 10 years for you, there's been so many changes. Yeah. And I think if we just go back to, 2016, I think it was when you first got separated, or when you got separated, your children were ages younger, so they weren't even hitting the teens, really. Yeah.
What was that like for you now, becoming a single mom?
Well, I suppose I was single, but not necessarily a single mom. Although myself and my ex-husband did separate. He's a wonderful father. That was never a question in anything. So he was always there and always present. It was just unfortunate that it did happen. And as I said to you previously, before we started recording, as my cousin said to me at the time, you're not the first and you won't be the last.
Yeah.
So we have managed in between that. And Lily and Ruby have done really well. They're good kids and they're my pride and joy. Lily is doing, she's in her 3rd year of psychology. She's in North Carolina. And Ruby is doing business in Belfast. So we did okay.
Yeah.
With them.
And for anyone who's going through that now or about to go through that, being in a relationship for a certain amount of time, having children, and now the next chapter in their life is that they're going to be single.
It's daunting and it's tough and it's a grief.
Yeah.
And it's a transition. And you need to be kind to yourself and you need to find your supports and your friends and who you can rely on. And you fairly find out soon enough who's who.
Because it must be strange where you might have had the same friends and all of a sudden, some people line up to the left and others line up to the right. Absolutely.
And expect that to happen.
Yeah.
But you will find your people, and it is a transition and it is a growth in itself because your old life is gone and you have to find a new life for yourself and you have to pave the way. And that's where things certainly changed for me as well. I had the styling business, and that really began with personal shopping, wardrobe decluttering, the real Trini and Susanna kind of work. And then it moved onto media, onto radio, people asking for advice on radio, then fashion shows, and then TV. It kind of was a natural progression.
So was that your distraction then, do you think, work?
Yeah, but you know, at that, when I did separate, it wasn't enough to sustain me financially. And so that, again, then was another transition and another career. I kept it going in the background, and it still is my side hustle. But my main job is obviously Aer Lingus. And I joined Aer Lingus then in 2018. Yeah. I never looked back.
And then sadly, your father passed away.
You know, this is it. And I always gauge things from before 2016 and after 2016.
Yeah.
Because everything was, let's say, going to plan. And then all hell broke loose after that. So at the end of 2016, I separated. And in March 2017, we lost Dad.
So that's like two different areas of grief.
Yeah, two blows, yeah. And then subsequently after that, Mom started to go downhill. As we did joke earlier, we was like, I thought the amount of giving out she did about him, I thought she didn't like him. Yeah. But she did. She did, very much so. And after 60 years of marriage, how would you
How many?
60.
Wow.
Yeah, it was nearly 60 they got to. So, she went downhill rapidly. She ended up getting breast cancer at 87. And it was an aggressive form of breast cancer, and we lost her soon after that. So that was 3 blows.
And growing up in a house, because I think there was 9 of you in it, growing up in a house where Mom and Dad reached 60 years of marriage, did you question yourself, why was your marriage not going to make 60 years?
No, I didn't really. I suppose I didn't really compare it into that. I always think that everybody is individual. I wouldn't compare anybody's marriage. Nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors apart from the couple themselves, no matter what. Yeah. So I wouldn't really have any kind of judgment on that. And each relationship is individual. Yeah. So for me, growing up in the house with, plenty of children, and obviously, as I said again and previously, that I was like a mistake. I was number 8 was the mistake. But Mom thought she was having the menopause. And hello, surprise. And then there was another surprise after that, another year later. But that was just the way things were. And it was a very busy household. We were a very close family. And at home, like Mom and Dad, having them at home and then all of a sudden not, is a big shock. Yeah. It's huge. And it doesn't matter what age you are. You have only one mother and one father. Mm-hmm. And to lose them quickly after one another was tough.
We were talking about this earlier as well before we started recording about there's something about parents as well. And I think especially moms, if you have a good relationship with them, is, your mother could be just the only person in your life who loves you unconditionally. Yeah. If you get married or if you're in a relationship with someone, oftentimes it's conditional. They love you unless you really screw up.
Yes, exactly.
Whereas a mother, generally speaking, or a father will always love you unconditionally.
And this was the thing. And I remember when, I was struggling in my marriage, and I remember Dad sat me down and he said to me, it's okay. Things will be okay. And if you ever need to, just come home.
Yeah.
So it's wonderful.
It's knowing you have that safety net. Yeah. And then, again, more grief. And we've had quite a few conversations, and often your brother Leo comes up in them.
Yeah.
He was diagnosed in the late 90s with a rare form of cancer.
Yeah.
And things weren't looking good when he was first diagnosed.
No, he was given 6 months prognosis, which was really scary. I was in my 3rd year of nursing. I was actually in a placement in an oncology ward, which was so hard. I actually asked to be moved from it. But my sister is an oncology nurse, and she was working with John Crown at the time. And he took Leo under his wing. And he he diagnosed this rare form of cancer that Leo had. And the conventional treatments were not going to work. He did try chemo, but because of his bone density, it was going to damage him further. So we couldn't do chemo. So he ended up going to Switzerland for treatment. In total, he ended up with 5 of those treatments throughout the years. And his tumours would crop up, and then that would be treated with radiation. But we always thought with Leo, he was doing so well, and we always said he'll outlive us all with how well he's doing. And then in 2020, it just took a really sad, drastic turn.
And this is, again, during that time that we hate to think about COVID.
Yeah, it was during COVID.
We were so restricted.
We were so restricted, but thankfully, like we were off flying. So I was around. And Leo was quite particular about who he would have around him as well. And it was terrifying to think that anything could happen to him in COVID that would have him, in a hospital where we couldn't visit him, or he could die alone. So we were very careful. I was the driver up and down to Dublin, bringing him up and down for his treatments.
He had the double mask on.
The double mask on, and there was times he would sit in the back of the car, and then he moved up to the front because the crack was too good up the front. And so Leo and I, we always had a close bond. He was my godfather, 16 years older than me. But I could never do any wrong. No matter what I did, I never did any wrong with him. And that's real unconditional. When you were talking about your parents having unconditional, it was like that with Leo. And I was particularly close to him. And it grew even stronger then with our journeys up and down. But I remember dropping him off in Vincent's. And when I pulled over, it was Vincent's private, and pulled over, and I took a second look at him as he was going in, and it was COVID again because we couldn't go in with him. And I remember looking at him thinking, something's going wrong here. I could see it. And I phoned my sister Mary, and I said, I can see things are failing here. And she said, I know. Leo was in denial. So was John Crown. He was going to keep fighting to do whatever he could. But eventually, he had to admit defeat. Yeah. So then we lost Leo in August. And it was really difficult.
Yeah. And still is.
Mm-hmm.
And it had I think, all those losses then in that really short period of time.
Yeah.
Your father, your mother, your brother.
Yeah. It's 4 years. It was 3 people in 4 years in our family. And as much as you're trying to deal with one grief, then another one, and another one, it's very compounded. And I speak very openly about Leo on my Instagram. I keep him alive with that. I wear a necklace with the nickname that he called me. And it's tough. It's still really tough.
Yeah. What sort of person was he?
He was a very gentle person. He was a very conscientious person. If he came into the room, he would call everybody by their name and say hello, each and every one. He was very soft. He was gentle. He was extremely intelligent and very caring. And he dealt with his illness with such dignity and such bravery. And I know that word is thrown around, bravery, but he really was. And he kind of nearly made small of it, that it was just something that he was doing. It was just, this is the way he lived, and that's what he did. But he was a wonderful brother, and but he had a real sharp wit as well, and real dry. Yeah. So the giggling we did up in that car, going up and down, giving out about all the other family members. Did you see what they did? Did you hear that? Oh my goodness. And the crack was mighty. Yeah. So that was wonderful. And I still have the same car, and I still travel in the same car. And I look over at the seat. He's not there.
How did you deal with all the grief?
Not very well. There was parts of it that weren't that I didn't do it very well. And I struggled. I really struggled after Leo died. And I'm so emotional now. God, how do I stop this? I'm trying to swallow here. How am I going to tell this story?
I know. I'm trying to be careful with my questions so I just don't send you
spiraling. Yeah. I like, the thing was with Leo, because it was still COVID. I was still calling in and out to his house. He was still very particular about who was in and out, because in his mind he wasn't dying. The hospice were absolutely wonderful. The palliative care were amazing. And I was with him. And so I think myself and my sister, I actually called my sister, my younger sister Yvonne, and I said, will you just come down with me? Because I knew when I went in and saw him, because the pump was put in on Saturday, and when I called in on the Monday, I knew that he was going. So I said, can you come with me? Can you stay with me while we're with him?
And the pump is morphine, is it?
Yes. Yeah. It's from the palliative care do that. So it's to ease the pain and to, I suppose, ease the send off. And they do it as much as they can legally do it.
Yeah.
But they were absolutely wonderful. But that kind of stuck with me for a long time. And that was hard. I went straight into work mode, organising the funeral, the eulogy, the afters. That we could only invite 50 people. We were making the list. We had the priest in, the undertaker, the doctor. And it was really kind of meticulous. And after that is the drop. And that's nearly what I always find about funerals. We do them so well in Ireland.
Yeah.
But it's the afterwards that really is the fallout. And that's when you really need to be checking in on people. I remember being in so much pain, and I remember the physical pain, and I remember the heartache. And I remember thinking to myself, how long is this going to last? How long do I have to feel this pain? And it was physical. And I remember being in such shock and wondering, is it going to be months? Is it going to be weeks? And it was, I'd say, about 3 months. And then after that, there is the reality. And I think that shock kind of keeps you protected. And after the shock goes is the reality. But yeah, I did not do well. I did not do well. And I felt very vulnerable. I felt that I wanted to join him. Mm-hmm. And I went to a pretty dark place. But in that, I found my light at the end of the tunnel with Pieta House. And they saved my life. And it is something that we don't talk about enough. And I suppose really it's well known that we don't do mental health well in this country.
No.
But for people to know that that is only a phone call away. And they were absolutely wonderful. So I spent 6 months in counselling with them, and this is on the phone. So the bond that I had with my counsellor, Amanda, was absolutely wonderful. And she knew me inside and out by the end of those 6 months. But also it gave me that inner confidence to be able to face these adversities and know that I will still be around for my children, for my friends, for my partner, in that confidence. But like you sometimes think, okay, if I have another blow, how am I going to deal with this? But knowing that you have that support in them, that it doesn't matter what, where, how, what time, you phone them, and that's that. They will be there.
What was the point in your life when you realised you needed to reach out and get help?
Well, it was, as I said, that dark place. I was not in a good place. And you feel, and it's not, sometimes people say, oh, would the world be better off without me? It wasn't even that. It was just that I cannot bear this pain anymore.
To someone on the outside, meeting Caroline on the street, was everything fine, everything rosy?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You could never tell.
Yeah.
And I suppose with I'm not perfect. None of us are. But I would have this very outwardly happy, let's say, disposition. But inside there was a lot of pain.
And were you still putting up content online.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's so funny with this thing with Instagram. People think, oh my God, it looks so perfect and their lives are so perfect and all that kind of stuff. But it is only a snapshot in time. It does. How was I even going to try and explain online how I was feeling? I didn't feel that was the platform to do that. I didn't even know where to start. I didn't know how it would be received. And it was so private then as well. But I remember messaging you. I was listening to your podcast. You're so lovely with people. And I thought, maybe this is the guy that we can talk to about this and get it out there.
Yeah. And this is what I think is important for people as well, is realizing that what we see online is just a spotlight of the highlights, the great moments. But also, if you are having troublesome times, is to go and find your people or get the experts to help you.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it can be difficult for your friends as well. I have one particular friend who I go to with everything. Chrissy, she is absolutely wonderful. God love her. The free counselling service that she provides, but she's mine. She's not for everyone else. But I didn't realise how easy it was to pick up that phone. And I wish that other people before me would have done it. And sometimes people think with counselling, oh my God, where do I start? What do I even do? Is this so daunting? It's just like you and I having a conversation. And they're really solution-based. So they come back to you with solutions, with tools, really practical. And it's in such a non-judgmental way, it's wonderful.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's given me, that extra confidence in life. Doesn't mean that the next blow won't hurt me, but it means that I'll be able to rationalise and deal with it in the way that we should, which grief is, or whatever it might be.
What do you think held you back from taking it to that step that you obviously didn't want to go?
That's a tough one. I suppose what it is that maybe you have to live for your children. You have to be there for them. And with my daughters, as much as I am their mother, I'm still their friend as well. We have that relationship. There's not much of an age gap either.
Of course not.
No, absolutely not, no. Child bride. So, it's them. It's for them. Yeah. And to be around for them. I want to be here as long as possible. I want to see my grandchildren. Yeah. Because not too soon now. Not too soon. Not right now.
It stays in North Carolina.
Yes.
Because on stays there.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's just the Vegas.
Maybe that's the Vegas in you.
Yeah. When I have had dark days as well, I do find comfort in, at the end of the day, I have two children to come home to who will love me regardless, and they don't care about what I do work-wise or anything like that. It's just, I'm the one on the floor playing Barbies and stuff. Yeah. And I do think there was a huge transition in my life when I did become a father, because in my 20s, it was just all about me. And I either lived for myself or I didn't. Yeah. But I think when you do become a parent,
your world changes.
Your world changes, and you, as best you can, you have to live for your children.
Yeah, and you know what it's like to become, when you're a new parent, the world is suddenly so dangerous. You remember the drive home from the hospital? And you're like, how am I going to get this?
Yeah, it's like a funeral procession for anyone behind us.
Yeah. So I was sitting in the back like, how are we going to do this? But
and are they breathing? Are they breathing?
They're breathing. Oh, sweet.
You don't
Lord
sleep
above.
at all for the first. It's not that they're keeping you awake. You're just worst case scenario. You're thinking, shaking the cot to a level that it shakes when they move, but they don't wake and cry or something.
Don't shake too hard. It is that the world becomes very different.
It does, yeah.
Yeah, but everything is about them. Everything is about our children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember a cousin of mine said to me, you won't discover love until your children are born. There's not a love like it in the world.
No, absolutely.
And I just thought love is love. It's just one thing.
Yeah.
But you realize that there's different levels and depth and colors to it and so on. And I'm aware that there's people listening who don't have children and may have chosen not to have children and so on. And it's not that we're making out that you're missing out on anything.
No, but it's kind of animalistic. There's a click.
Yeah.
It's like it's something in your DNA clicks. It's like, wow, okay, I have to protect this at all costs.
And it makes you schizophrenic because one minute you're like, I love you. Next minute you're like, I'll kill you.
Don't.
Don't answer me back because I don't know what else to say.
Because I know I'm not right all the time. No.
You make me sound like my own parents now. This wasn't the plan.
Like, uh-oh.
I was supposed to be the cool parent. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
How does one get support from Pieta House?
Quite simply is you can go online, search it up. As you said to me previously, it's not a house.
No, exactly. No.
It's not. They're in different locations around the country. You can go online. You can check out the services that they have. There is a phone line and a 24-hour phone line as well if you feel in any way in crisis or if you feel vulnerable in any way. You can talk to that counsellor, highly qualified and personable, lovely people. You can talk to them straight away. They will be there for as long as you need.
So you're the same person then every time? It wasn't like you'd ring up?
Different person. You could
get different people all the time?
No. For the 24-hour one, yes.
Yeah, okay.
And then what they will do is then they will give you a call back and then they will organise counselling sessions for you.
With the same person then?
And then it'll be the same person after that,
great.
yeah.
And do you think that, like, how far down the road does one have to be before they need to initiate that call?
As I said, it's anything from where you feel in any way or have any kind of tendencies or thoughts or, or in that place where you feel vulnerable.
Mm.
And again, in any shape or form, if you feel depressed, anything at all, just make the call.
Yeah.
Just make the call. That is it. That's where it starts. And they take it from there. And trust me, you are in good hands with them. They're absolutely wonderful.
So they worked with you and gave you different tools and techniques and so on. What do you do today to stop yourself getting really dark and depressed?
Well, and that's not to say that it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It does. Life is life. And there's good days and bad days. And certainly, on the Instagram when you're on, you're like, I can't be arsed today. I don't want to, or whatever it might be. For me, it is resting. My favorite thing in the world is sleep. Yeah. It's resting. It's self-care, taking baths, good food, whatever series you want to watch on television, talking to your friend, your best friend, to your partner, whatever it might be. But it really is just taking that, separating yourself and taking that downtime away so you can rest your mind, rest your body, rest everything. Put the phone away.
Mm.
You don't need to have searching and scrolling and any of that kind of thing. Don't go down TikTok.
Yeah.
Just do nice things for yourself.
But you'd have a good following online. It's about 20,000 or so.
Well, with the New York, it's going up,
good,
which is great.
Yeah. No, I'm happy for you. I am. I've like a tenth of that following. But I'm delighted, yeah. And thankfully, I don't get that much negative stuff. But I know as your numbers grow, you can kind of get that negative stuff. How do negative comments affect you when you would be a sensitive, kind of vulnerable person?
That's a very good question, but I've been so lucky. I've been so lucky that I haven't had any of that. The people that are on my page are actually really, and I mean this wholeheartedly, they're actually lovely
Good
people. And I suppose you would hope that if you're putting out warmth, kindness, bit of crack every now and again, that you'll get that back. And thankfully I have. So I really haven't had any. So I can't even dip into that.
That's nice. No, that's nice to hear, because I have seen comments that people have gotten. Who'd have a good following. And it's horrible.
It is desperate, and it's not on. And like, it's terrible news about Liam Payne. Supposedly he was getting terrible abuse online.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's, and I think really behind everything, no matter what it is a person. No matter what they're putting out, it's still a person.
We seem to have trouble realizing that, don't we?
Do we? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because I don't know, is it with that celebrity industry or not? I don't know. And maybe with the influencers and those online could be a little bit more vulnerable because it looks like their life is perfect.
Well, you mentioned Liam Payne and celebrities and so on. Your partner now would be well known in Ireland and in the music industry, Jim Core. And, over the years he would have faced, a backlash and stuff. Like, is that difficult as well, supporting someone, seeing them even getting negative comments or abuse?
I've found that very hard. And it's I remember watching an interview that I just felt, this is excruciating to watch. This is somebody I love, been hurt by the interviewer. Thankfully, he's a very strong-minded person. He believes in his views. Not everybody does. But he is very confident in himself. And like, if he feels that he wants to talk about things, he will talk about them. He is brave like that, and he will do that. So he doesn't get fazed by these at all. For me, it would hurt me more to see them.
Yeah. What is life like now with the two young ladies in your life, having left the nest? Because you're getting back that independence, but like, I suppose you had to redefine yourself when you separated in your marriage. And then there was the changes in your life with, losing both parents and then losing your brother who you got on with so well. And now your two daughters have left the nest.
Yeah, that's really inconsiderate, isn't it? Like, for goodness sake.
You should do homeschooling university for them.
Absolutely. And I remember, like, Lily they're both in Ulster University. Lily was up in Coleraine, and for the third year they had the option to do an exchange, so to do that year away. And she was mentioning Toronto and America and whatever, and I remember I was in the car and I was like, focus on driving, I was like, what in God's name is she talking about? And then the next thing, it was North Carolina. And I said, Lily, is there anybody else doing this in your year? And she was like, oh yeah, there's another girl, she's going to Amsterdam. And I was like, why couldn't you pick there?
Yeah.
Why North Carolina? But I am so proud of her to do that. She knew nobody over there. She is this wonderful group of friends. Like, she is so likable, and it's not that I'm biased that she's my daughter. She's a really likable person. She was going to make friends very easy. I was dreading the moment for when she was leaving. I was crying the day before. I was trying to keep it together because I wanted to be happy for her. The weeks and months and days and hours, I was counting them down and then dreading it. So I had a good cry before she left.
Yeah.
So that I would be okay for her leaving.
Okay.
Now, she did leave in the middle of the night, and Dermot brought her and Ruby to the airport, but also travelled with her to North Carolina, which was a wonderful peace of mind. He stayed there, and Ruby settled her in for the week then as well.
Dermot's the dad, is it?
Yeah. And the initial was so hard. It was so hard, I won't lie. And I was bereft that day. And Jim was around, and he was great, and he was wonderful. And, it was a strange sensation. The house was clean all of a sudden. It was quiet.
Yeah.
I have two dogs. There's one dog that is, as you've one as well, a real yappy fecker. I nearly liked the sound of the noise because it was noise. Other than that, it would make your ears bleed.
Yeah.
But And then Ruby left then as well. So yeah, it was a huge adjustment.
Because I spoke to someone recently and she said her son now has moved to Australia, and she said she has cried so often, so many nights over the last few months, just missing all the little moments of when they were kids.
You do, and that's the thing, you think back and you think, where did that time go? You're wishing for bedtime.
Yeah.
That they go to bed.
Yeah.
And then next thing, they're gone. You know, it's really, it's quite, as my father used to say, time flies, and the older you get, the faster it goes. And it's so true. And it is going so fast. But what I find, and what's so much easier now, if you remember years gone by when people went to America, they'd be phoning on a Sunday at 3:00. You had to pick up the phone, and you could hear nearly the time difference in the phone. Now we've got FaceTime, and they're only a phone call away. So Lily and I FaceTime all the time. Same with Ruby. Ruby is my Velcro baby.
What do you mean by that?
She's one of those like stuck to you.
Okay.
Yeah. So she phones me 3, 4, 5 times a day. Okay. So it feels like, you know, it, although it's an adjustment. And then, of course, I have the fly-in to keep me busy.
Which you've just started back at,
Which started back after I had various surgeries. And it's been a lifeline. It's amazing, you know. It's wonderful, and it has been so good, the work. But yeah, they're contactable. There is that FaceTime. And even when I was over in Boston and I FaceTimed Lily, and she was keeping me awake, and we were on the phone for an hour, and she said to me, "Mommy, it feels like you're here because you're in the same time zone."
Yeah.
So it's okay. With that technology, it makes it easier.
Yeah. That's great. You have a good acceptance.
I've no choice.
True. Any quirky stories from working on flights?
Oh, I'm not going into that.
You don't have to say what airline it was or anything, but...
Oh, there's enough. There's a few bold ones, all right.
Okay. Like Mile High Club type stuff.
Well, I mean, people have said to me, have you done... I was like...
Because you'd want to be fairly thin now to get into some of those toilets.
Well, you'd want to have no nasal passages, do you know, because they're pretty smelly now. It's not the most romantic setting.
No. And a bit of a contortionist as well.
Yeah, exactly. Because you go in and you go, how do they do it? Now that I'm here, how do they do it? Or would you want to? But there's been a couple of those like under blankets and stuff.
All right.
Because you can't do that here.
You do wash the blankets, do you?
I don't wash them.
I hope someone does.
Somebody does.
I mean, I know in Vegas. Would you like a blanket? No.
No, thank you. Is there a wrapper on? Okay, I'll have it.
Okay, so box of chocolates won't get you upgraded.
No. But your very pretty smile might. Okay. Grin like, Caroline told me to do this. See what happens.
Do you know Caroline? I know Caroline. She said you look after me. Yeah, don't ring her. She just said you look after me. No, it's brilliant. In fairness, Aer Lingus doing direct flights now from Dublin to Vegas is a game changer.
That'll be... Now they are...
And just to say, I'm going over because I'm an NFL Raiders fan. That's why.
Is it?
It's okay. For nothing else.
I believe you.
Yeah. No, because the last time I went over, I spent $12 in the casino.
Yeah.
And I lost.
And that was that.
Like, I was so annoyed. Like it spelled it cost $18 for a coffee over there in Dunkin' Donuts, but $12 lost, and I was like not impressed at all.
I'm not happy.
Yeah,
no. And do you know what? I'm the same. I don't get gambling at all. Now, I've never been to Vegas, and neither has himself. So the inaugural flight is this month, and I was thinking, the poor crew, what'll it be like coming back? Talk about heads on backwards then.
Yeah. But I say a lot of people are just asleep on the way back at that stage.
Yeah, I'm just worried about the state of the crew.
Because they get to stay over there as well, don't they?
It's 2 nights, It's 2 nights. No, I'm only joking, of course, very responsible, but like it'll be some crack. So a 2-nighter will be great. Like you'd see plenty in that.
It's kind of plenty really, a couple of days there.
And lucky you, Look at you going away.
It's something I'm envious of, but also fully aware of how difficult a job it is to be flying all around and visiting different cities all the time. But it does have a big toll on your body. Like, what's your kind of, are you like a week on, week off, or how does it play out?
No, like we would generally, it depends on what you can bid for your flights or what ones that you want. All crew are trained on all flights. So there might be some people that say, I only do TAs, transatlantics. We don't. We do them all. We do them all. But like the TAs work for me because I'm living in Blackrock and Louth. And so that commute up and down, if you're doing that 5 days a week, it's going to take the toll on your car and everything else. So the TAs just work better for me. Now, the Europes have their place as well because you get to come home to your own bed.
Yeah.
But it is an adjustment, and you'd want to really like the job, to be in it, because you're working with people.
Like, you can probably spot the troublemakers once they come on, can you?
This is it. We are, like, people think that we're standing there going, hi, how are you?
Okay.
Hello, we're checking you out.
All right, you're smelling their breath.
We're looking at you. We're see right through you. So, yeah, of course. And any kind of sniff of trouble or danger or anything like that, you have to remember that when we are 41,000 feet in the air, we have to be everything to everyone. And that's why our training is so rigorous, and the pass rate is 85% and 90%. There's no room for error. So we are first aiders, we're firefighters, we are Gardaí, we are everything up there. Yeah. So we don't want trouble up there. We don't want to have to do that. But we do get a lot of medicals, and that's where our medical training comes in. But yeah, we're looking at you.
Have you ever been on a flight where the oxygen masks came down?
No, actually, don't do that to me.
You don't do that to me either.
Okay, we're like, do it to Garry for the crack.
No, because someone said to me before, turbulence is a good thing, because, a plane can never go down if there's turbulence. But I don't know where they're just saying that. Like, you're probably so used to flying that it doesn't scare you.
Doesn't bother us at all. But it is quite hilarious when there's a bit of turbulence. You see people like this, and they're looking at us. So you can see
I do that. If the crew isn't panicking, I'm fine. If the crew seems to quickly be coming back with the trolley,
you're like,
where the rosary beads.
That's where the squeaky chairs come in, isn't it?
Give me a blanket. Gonna go out with a smile on my face here.
Oh, it's so funny. But yeah, they do. They clock us, and they're like, they're like meerkats. They're up to look, but
it doesn't bother you.
It doesn't bother us at all. And even if we're told to sit down, it still doesn't bother us. And that's really just for our own safety. You don't want to be knocked around the place or have any injuries. But even if like when we're sitting down, I've only had really moderate, light turbulence. Obviously, there is ones that it's really severe, and it can be dangerous. But that, again, is where our training kicks in. It's all about safety. Your tea and coffee is very nice, but we're there to keep you safe.
Okay. Very good. Are you planning, do you think, at some stage to return to TV presenting? Yeah,
I'd love to. Because obviously with the tough years that were previous, I felt that maybe live television wasn't the right time. But for me, it was such a buzz, and I really enjoyed it, and I really liked it. So I will always keep that door open.
Yeah.
I was on to a friend of mine, Dahi O'Shea.
I was lovely guy.
Such a gentleman.
Oh, he is, because he does so much for charities around Galway, and we work with these charities, and they just sing his praises so much.
Yeah. So I've been threatening to come down to him. So
Brilliant.
We'll see. Obviously, we have to go through the producer. I have to get a clearance from him and then go from there. But yeah, the door is open. Absolutely. I would love that.
Because I have to say, you're so natural when you do your content that you put out online.
Oh.
Yeah. Like sometimes that people are just not fully themselves. They're putting on a little bit of act or a little bit of, hey, hi. And that's fine.
Just popping on stories.
But you're very natural.
Oh, that's lovely to say.
Yeah.
I'm glad that comes across, because I think you can think too much about it as well. And sometimes I would trip over words or say the wrong word or whatever, and I just keep going because that's that's real life.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm glad to hear that. It's lovely to say. Thank you, Garry.
No, not at all. Look, continued success in everything that you're doing. Look, you've had a hard slog, but you've come out the other end. You're smiling. You're doing great. You've 2 amazing daughters that you're very proud of. You're in a good relationship.
Yeah.
You've really taken control of your life and keep soaring for the sky.
Thank you so much, Garry. This is absolutely wonderful. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.